Not only have I generated over £500,000 in revenue as an appointment setter myself, but I've also hired, trained, and placed multiple appointment setters into high ticket businesses. And in my opinion, they're one of the fastest and simplest ways that you can start booking between 5 to 10 calls for your business today. And that's very simply because not only do they work on a pay and results basis, meaning they're financially incentivized to make you as much money as possible, but also simply having them in the business serves to help things like increase the show up rate. It also increases lead quality as well. And it also actually helps to increase the chance of a prospect closing, but only if you know how to manage them properly. So in this video, I'm going to show you how you can start making more money with appointment setters today. And if you stick around till the end of this video, I will also show you the one secret you need to know to keep a good appointment setter on your team for much, much longer. Okay, great. Let's dive into it. So the first thing we're going to have to discuss and what you need to know is what actually makes a good appointment setter and what are you looking out for when you're looking to hire someone to bring into your business. In my opinion, the perfect profile of someone who's going to be a great appointment setter is someone who's firstly between the ages of 19 to 23. Now, the reason I say this is because anyone who's going to be younger than that age, anyone younger than 19, 18, and they're probably not going to be mature enough to handle the level of conversation you're having, whether it be in DMs or over phone calls, especially if you're targeting a more mature audience for your offer. Now, on the other end as well, anyone who's older than like 23, 24, beyond that, they're probably going to outgrow the opportunity too quickly, meaning they're not going to be earning the money they want to for their age. They're probably going to start acquiring more skills more quickly, going to want to become a closer or something else in sales or go on to another role in business. And they're just not going to stick around for long. So ultimately, it's not going to be a good fit for you and them long term. The other kind of person you can look for is if you run a very, very robotic, non-dynamic appointment setting scripts, then you can look to hire someone who's like a virtual assistant from the Philippines or another country abroad, because it literally can just be a case of prospect sends an inbound message, copy and paste this message, send it back. If they send this, or if they send this, send this. It's just like a case of, sending a script basically. So that's someone you can look for as well. Personality-wise, you need to find someone who's a real grinder. Now, being an appointment setter, it's not a glamorous role, right? You're not the top tier salesman on the team bringing in 20K, 30K a month in commissions. It's just not like that. You're really looking for someone who's willing to put in a high volume of work on a daily basis. They can sit down on a laptop or computer, put in 7 to 9 hours of work every single day, and just really be willing to, grind themselves off in order to make as much money for themselves and you as possible. And the other thing you're looking out for as well is you want to make sure they have no distractions in the background. You don't want someone who's currently at school. You don't want someone who's like trying to set up an agency or trying to do something else in business. And yeah, you just don't want someone who's got like a hectic family life or anything like that, because if they're having constant distractions, in other areas of their life, it's going to affect their performance here. It's going to affect things like how fast they get to leads, the number of conversations they can book in each day, and it means that they're just not going to make the money that they want to, and it's not going to make not going to make you the money that you want to either. So it's just not really a good fit, in my opinion. I've tried to work with people like that before, and it doesn't really last long term. So you really want to watch out for those two kind of traits. Now, skill set wise, as I mentioned earlier, appointment setting isn't like the highest level of skill sales wise, but I think there are a few traits that you need to have as a good appointment setter. Number one is you need to be exceptionally disciplined. As I mentioned, you're literally just there to put in the same input every day to try and get the same output. So, you need to have exceptional discipline and exceptional consistency. Now, one thing you can do when you're looking to hire an appointment setter is ask them questions to look into other areas of their life to see where else they show consistency and discipline. Do they go to the gym every day? Do they, practice sport every day, practice an instrument every day? What else do they do at a fairly high level where they're doing it day in, day out, and they've shown exceptional consistency to get to a high level in whatever it is that skill is? Because as the old saying goes, the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. So if someone can show consistency and discipline in another area of their life, then the chances are they're going to be able to show that with you here in your business and get that result for themselves too. I also think a good appointment setter needs to be someone who's quite stoic and fairly detached from the outcome. Now, there are some days, I've worked on a appointment setter myself, obviously, where you put in a tremendous amount of work. You might put in 8-9 hours of work that day, just blasting people with messages or phone calls. And it might be a dry day. You do get that. Maybe you have a low level of lead flow or low quality of lead coming that day. And it can just be hard to get a high volume of calls booked for whatever reason. And if you're someone who reacts emotionally or you aren't able to weather those up and downs that you can get in business, then they're going to lose their mindset very quickly and they're going to start deteriorating in the level of performance. So yeah, you just want to watch out for someone who can come in, is completely fine to put in the input and not be too detached from the outcome. That is really important in my opinion. Last thing is you want someone who's got a good contextual understanding of conversation, i.e. they can read the energy of a conversation, read the tone of a conversation, whether it be over a phone call or a DM, just so they can provide that person with the level of help, assistance that they need, and also work just to overcome any objections quite subtly that they may have. So you need someone who's got that just contextual awareness of how conversation works and just be able to read into the little nuances of appointment setting. So yeah, these are the key traits that a good appointment setter that's going to do well on your team is going to need. So now that we've found someone appropriate to come and work for us as an appointment setter in our business, we've then got to know, where do we actually place this person in the business? We're going to place them on the phones doing dialing or place them in our DMs. Now, this is all going to come down to what funnel you currently run. My best guess is if you're a high ticket coach or consultant who relies on their personal branding to kind of sell their offer, you probably will run what we call a call funnel, meaning what call funnel is basically you either run ads or you run your YouTube channel or Instagram page to an opt-in page where the lead submits their details. That then goes through to a video sales letter where they watch a 5 to 10 minute sales video on your offer. And then once you watch that video, they're then allowed to book a sales call with your team. Now, one thing you can do is to increase the efficiency of this funnel is place a DM setter in between these two stages, i.e. the DM setter basically messages any leads who come through the opt-in but who don't go through to actually book a call to ask them what got them interested in watching the video and then see if they can actually qualify them and then book them in for a sales call with your team. Now, this is a great funnel to run. As I said, if you're running a B2C type offer, you're a coach or consultant who relies on their personal brand, this is really, really good because, well, what you can do is the setter will run from a WhatsApp account. So you'll be collecting all the phone numbers and you can have a setter message all those leads from your personal business WhatsApp account, which is something that we've done and works very, very successfully. Now, the reason this kind of setup works is because, one, if it comes from the business owner's personal account, it has a lot of authority, and so you have a lot of status and kind of leverage in the conversation. And so if there's someone they've been following you for quite a while, they're into your brand, into your business, they're going to kind of respect your time and respect your energy in the DMs, which works really well. Now, the other reason I say DM setting and not phone setting for this kind of funnel, and I think a lot of people get this wrong, is because the level of intent at this stage in the funnel when someone opts in is actually quite low. There's not a high enough intent here for someone to be called on the phone and for them to really know that much about what's going on. So a DM setter always works best because the level of intent from the lead is fairly low at this stage in the funnel. So that's why I always recommend DM setting. I can say I've worked on this funnel myself, try to phone set people, and all that happens is you give them a call, they're like, oh, who's this? Who's this? What are you calling from? No, I don't remember watching that video. Sorry, can I call you later? It's just not a good sales process, in my opinion. Even if you are good at it, it's very, very hard to run. One of the other main benefits of it is it allows you to nurture your leads very, very well. And this is something that phone setting doesn't do, because you might message the lead. They might say, oh, I watched this video because I had a small interest in getting into, whatever business model it is you run, but maybe they don't quite know enough about it yet. So you can actually send them sales assets, resources, YouTube videos to kind of educate them and nurture them over time and kind of build up that trust, build up that level of education needed to actually book them on a call. And that can take, a long time. And that's something that can't happen on a phone call because it's very, very difficult to phone up a lead, say, okay, no worries, it sounds like you need a little bit more time to get educated on the offer, send them some sales videos, send them some sales assets, and then try and phone them again a week later. It's a very, very hard process because you've already called them once. The second time they don't pick up, and then now they're not interested. And it's just not very good in my opinion. So it gives you better and greater control over how you nurture leads. when there's like a longer sales cycle in the process. So that's why I would always recommend DM setting for this kind of funnel. Now, the best kind of funnel for running something like phone setting is something like this, where it's a more of like an inbound inquiry type in funnel. And you see this a lot in more B2B type things where they've opted into an ad and they then had to register their interest in something very, very specific to get a quote or get, put in an application for something. The funnel basically looks like add to an inquiry form, and then they get a setting phone call, which might progress to a meeting or some other kind of sales call, something like that. And essentially, this works very, very well for phone setters. If you're running like a B2B offer where it's more business driven and more brand driven, as opposed to like individual personal brand type of driven. Now, there's a few reasons for this. Number one is it's got a much greater speed to lead in an industry where speed to lead actually matters. When you're dealing with business people, executives, professionals, the chances are if they've filled an application, they're going to be looking at multiple different things. So you want to get to them as quickly as possible so you can qualify their intent and potentially book them in to speak to your team. So that speed to lead is really important. Also, the level of intent at this stage in this kind of funnel is much, much higher. So a phone call actually makes sense because they've purposely filled out an application to get more information about something. So there's a much higher level of intent than there was in the first funnel. Reason number 3 is just simply more professional as well. Like, a working executive doesn't want to be messaged over WhatsApp or messaged over Instagram to try and book an appointment. They're just happy to have a 3-minute conversation on the phone and kind of get booked in and kind of progress things. And it's also got like a higher pickup rate in this kind of funnel too. Whereas I find that the pickup rates in these kind of funnels are very, very low just because of how low the intent is. Someone's filled out this application expecting to get a phone call from someone. So there's a much higher pickup rate, a much higher level of intent, and just all round better for taking phone calls with. So that's how I would manage that. So now they've actually got setters in the business working for us on the correct funnels. How are we going to manage them? Super, super important. Step number 1, make sure you're actually giving them access to the accounts they're going to need to message or call their leads. So this will either be like a CRM if you're phone dialing, or if you're DM setting, it'll be your Instagram or your Facebook or your WhatsApp account, basically wherever they're going to need to actually message all the leads coming in. And key tip, make sure you install 2-factor authentication on this, because what you need to ensure is that if you bring in a setter and they leave you down the line, because you've had to give them your passwords for the account, you want to make sure they don't leave you and they've still got access to all your personal details on that account. Whereas if you install like 2FA, you can just basically remove their access from the account, and then they'll be logged out and they won't be able to get back in once they've left. So make sure you've got 2FA on wherever it is you're giving them access to. Next 2 things is, number 1, a script or a framework that's already been proven to work in the past. Basically, it should just be the setter's job to come in and run with what has already been proven to work. You don't want to bring someone in and they're having to like generate the script themselves, make up the script themselves, especially if it's someone new who hasn't done appointment setting before. They're not going to be skilled at doing something like that. So yeah, if you're a business owner, you should have already run with setters in the past and have got a framework or script in place. So just hand them over that script and framework, give them a training video for that, get them to watch it, and then maybe just give them like a day or 2 to warm up on it. Assess them closely, kind of watch how they're getting on, provide any feedback. But after that, they should be good to go from there, working on themselves. Another key thing that I see a lot of businesses actually don't implement, but we do, and it works super, super well, is a way to be tracking all the leads. Now, you don't just want to leave it down to chance that they've messaged like 1,000 people on WhatsApp, and they don't know where that, they were speaking to a really good lead 5 days ago, but now it's buried under 900 other leads, right? You don't want that. You want to make sure they're able to prioritize and get to the right people. So they're not just wasting their time with loads of unqualified leads. You basically want to have a way for them to track and prioritize who is who and who they should be spending their time with. And a tracking document allows you to do that. We basically just have all our leads come in. We use API automations to put them straight in a tracking document where we have we're going to put like a tag with them to where they are in the conversation. Also give them like a rating for the conversation as well. And then if you do this on Google Sheets, you can then filter all your leads by where they are in the conversation, on the quality of the conversation as well. So you basically know who to like prioritize first in the day and chase up the right people. So that's another thing they're going to need. Third thing you're going to need to manage setters really effectively is an end of day reporting system. This is basically in place to like track all the KPIs, make sure they are hitting the standards that you've kind of laid out and have expected for them. And it just keeps a level of transparency as well. Like you basically can just check in at the end of the day and you know that the level of work they're putting in, you don't have to go through the DMs and check for yourself. It's just basically there laid out in like an end of day report. Looks something like this. And most finally as well is you want to have SOP documents for all your team, but your setters are really, really important because it's basically just going to allow them to like onboard themselves into the business, right? So it means you don't have to actually do much. You don't have to like do all the training and ramping up. You can say, hey, here's our SOP kit. Please watch through all these documents, watch through all the training videos, and it's going to reduce the amount of questions they have and just any confusion around what actually happens in the business because they're going to have a laid out step-by-step process for everything that happens in your business. So you need to be having SOP kits in place for everyone to manage. So if you have stuck around from the start of the video, I did say I would give away the one secret you need to know in order to keep a good appointment setter on your team for a long time. And well, the secret to this is you need to provide them with good growth opportunities in the business. Now, as I went through earlier, right, being an appointment setter, it's not a glamorous job. You're not earning loads and loads of money like a top tier closer. It's really just there to put in the dirty work, grind up your sales skills, put in the same consistent effort on a day in, day out basis, and really just try and grind to make as much money for yourself and the business as humanly possible. So it's not something that people want to stay in the long term. What you find is best case scenario, maybe your best setter stays with you for like 6 months to 9 months, and before they want to go on and move on to something else. Because working in sales, people want to have month-on-month growth and continue to see, returns on the time and effort they're investing into their skills and continue to grow on that. So there are 2 ways you can go about this. One is make sure you provide your setting team with different ways to earn money. So this can look like bonuses, monthly end bonuses for if they're the top performer, or bonuses if they book in above a certain amount of calls each month. Or number 2 is provide them with a way to grow in the business. So maybe they've worked for you as a setter for 9 months. They've been your top setter on a month-to-month basis, but maybe you now want to progress them to become a setter manager, where they're running a percentage of all the commissions earned from the setters or a percentage of all the sales made from the sales team. You basically want to have a way for them to progress, level up their skills, and help them get to the next stage in life. Because if you provide them a way to help them transition into the next job opportunity or the next role, they're really going to value that, and they're going to, rather stick with you being in a better role rather than go back and have to grind it out as a setter again and level up in another business and kind of earn their stripes again in that business. So yeah, this has basically been the ins and out of finding a good setter, how to train them up, how to manage them, and how to keep them on board for your team for a long time. So if you enjoyed that video, look, feel free to subscribe or hit the like button as well. And if finding and hiring a setter and implementing them into your business is something you specifically need help with, then I've left a link below talking about how I can help you do that. So feel free to click on that link. But if not, no worries. I'll see you in the next video. All the best. Take care.